The honourable member for Georgetown St. Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So in October 2016, the AG sent a letter to the Premier based on her evidence and outside legal advice, stating that she observed Billy Dow's conflict of interest and provided legal advice on the e-gaming scheme. Question to the acting Premier. Why does this tired Liberal government fail to act on the concerns raised by the auditor and refer this matter to a criminal investigation?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries.
Again, Mr. Speaker, on this issue, I'll take it up with the Premier when he returns. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The honourable member for Georgetown St. Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the Auditor General is the financial watchdog. She's not actually a police officer or a prosecutor. She raised legitimate concerns that require an actual criminal investigation. And this government has not acted, and actually what you have done, you spent all your time covering it up. Question again to the acting Premier. Will you table this letter from the Auditor General so that Islanders can see it?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I think we've all had the opportunity to review the Auditor General's report. The Auditor General, in fact, said that she had sought the advice of legal counsel with respect to some of her findings, and I believe it was at her press conference that she said very clearly that as a result of that conversation and as a result of her review of the file, that there was nothing of a criminal nature to refer to anyone. Mr. Speaker, she made that very, very clear. Thank you.
The Minister. The honourable member, Georgetown St. Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's not at all what happened. Not only did the auditor send a specific letter, she also took the unprecedented step of verbally telling government while her audit was in progress of her concerns about Billy Dow's double dealing. This tired Liberal government protected their party bagman and refused to act on these concerns. The cover-up continues. Question again to the acting Premier. What facts are contained in the auditor's letter that you and your Liberal regime want to keep from Islanders?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and again, at the conclusion of the Auditor General's review of this, and we all know that the Auditor General spent considerable time. She made a number of recommendations, many of which have been met, and a couple are still being finalized. But, Mr. Speaker, at the conclusion, she clearly stated, very clearly, that she had sought advice of legal counsel to review some of her findings with her, and she clearly, very clearly stated they found nothing of a criminal nature to hand over to any police department, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The honourable member for Georgetown St. Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So in the middle of her audit, she stopped her audit, she called government and said something's up here. You can't deny that. But if you want to answer the questions, let's go back to you. Billy Dow invested in this scheme after talking to Shane McCaffrey, who at the time was married to Melissa McCaffrey, who was your deputy. Question to the minister. When did you find out that your own deputy was in conflict with Billy Dow?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm not aware of any of those individual things that took place, and Mr. Speaker, it's my recollection at the time that the former deputy was in fact not married at that time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. The honourable member, Georgetown St. Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the Islanders are getting sick of this Sergeant Schultz routine. Sometimes he knows, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he read the report, sometimes he wasn't briefed. Listen, time for answers is now. This is your opportunity. The auditor's report revealed that Billy Dow was sent a copy of an exclusive MOU in June 2012 as the lawyer for Innovation PEI to take to the Deputy Minister for approval by the same lawyer he used to invest in the scheme. Question the Minister. Are some of these facts the facts that this tired Liberal government is hiding from Islanders that are in that letter that you don't want them to know about?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Not sure that I got the first part of the member's question and who he was quite referring to. So if we could somehow get that repeated exactly, I'd appreciate it, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
Honourable Member, Georgetown St. Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I'll go back over it. Billy Dow had a copy of the MOU, and he was the lawyer for Innovation PEI. He was asked to take it to your deputy minister for approval. Are these the facts that you're trying to hide?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and certainly I was aware that there was an MOU. I think I clearly stated that on a number of occasions. And I read the MOU that was extended. And other than that, Mr. Speaker, the MOU was something that there was no business plan in there. I think it was, you had up to 60 days to look at this MOU. And it's my recollection from that there was never a business plan ever put forward, and it kind of died on the floor, Mr. Speaker. It's my recollection of it.
Thank you, Minister. The Honourable Member, Georgetown St. Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So Billy Dow was sent an exclusive MOU by the same lawyer that he sent his investment scheme to. But somehow it took him 14 months, a securities investigation, and an audit for him to figure out he was in conflict. We also find out that the minister's deputy was approved this exclusive scheme while her husband was acting as the broker for the same scheme. Question to the minister again. Minister, do you remember from your time with the RCMP which section of the criminal code covers insider trading?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I've just listened to the question, and he wants me to float back into my previous career, Mr. Speaker, but the Auditor General had all these facts, the facts that he's talking about, that she did a thorough review. She called in a lawyer to review everything that she had found, and she clearly stated that she found nothing. And with the support and advice from the lawyer, she found nothing of a criminal nature to go anywhere with. So whatever my personal thoughts might have been on that is insignificant. Doesn't matter, Mr. Speaker. The Auditor General found there was nothing of a criminal nature, and she brought nothing forward to the RCMP. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Question from the Honourable Leader of the Third Party.
Thank you so much.